Hi there, I'm Lisa Arana, and thank you for joining me for another Assemble This video, where it's all about adding some shine with lunar paste today. I just love the way this layers over a stamped image, and it's going to be really perfect for Christmas cards this year. So stick around and I'll show you how to add some shine to your holiday cards. I'm going to be starting out with some Copic coloring. I am using the really adorable 3 times as Merry Unity Stamp Company stamp set. It has this adorable gnome, but I wanted to feature the ornaments inside this kit. I just thought they'd be really cute, stamped and lined up in a row to be featured on my card. I stamped those using some Copic friendly ink. I like Gina K amalgam ink for that reason. And then I grabbed some Copic markers in colors that are going to match my background pattern papers. So I have G12, G09, R24, R29, and W1. So they're kind of vintage classic Christmas colors. And I'm starting with the green first. And I just have 2 tones of markers and doing really easy shading, nothing really complicated. I am basically using the lines that are built into the stamp to create a rounded shadow for the ornaments. Next, we're going to do the red ornaments, and this is really just simple coloring. You could probably even get away without even adding a shadow. I'm going to be doing some techniques on top of this, so it kind of hides all my mistakes with the coloring and the shadow, but it does give an extra depth to the ornament itself, so it is something that I like to do, and it's fairly simple. Last, I'm going to add just a little bit of a warm shadow. This is W1, and I'm shading just the top of the ornament, the little silver part, and then adding a shadow just to the left side of the image. To level up that vintage look, I'm going to be doing some ink blending over the top. This is Antique Linen and Vintage Photo, and I'll just be using these throughout the card to keep everything cohesive. This gives it a nice vintage look to those baubles, and then it'll blend into my pattern papers I'm going to be using soon. I picked this up and I'm going to tear the top and the bottom of the strip of ornaments, and I'm tearing towards me so I see the white core of the paper, and then I'm just going to ink blend over that to kind of soften it a little bit. So now that our panel is all done, I'm going to take a star stencil and some cookie dough lunar paste. This is a real soft champagne gold, and I really love how this layers over the top. I'm just going to mix that up really well and then grab a palette knife and fill in the stars on my stencil that are right over my panel. Just kind of tapping that in to make sure each of those stars are filled in really nicely. And then once I'm happy with the coverage, I take that knife and scrape it off really well so I have a real smooth, thin layer of that lunar paste right over the top. Make sure you clean your stencil right away so it doesn't get stuck. And here is a closer look. Don't you just love that shine? Make sure you set that aside and let it dry completely. Next, I have some more pattern paper from Unity Stamp Company. This is the Yuletide Memories and then also Rustic Whispers paper packs. Doing some ink blending with Vintage Photo, and then I'm just going to tear the top and the bottom of this panel and then ink blend to kind of soften that white core of the paper. Let's start layering everything up. I'm going to cut this panel in half. I just need 2 strips of these torn layers. I'm going to glue these down right onto my card front, one at the top, and then I'll use my panel to eyeball where I want it at the bottom. And then I'm going to come in and lift up the bottom edges and kind of rough them up a bit, add to that vintage grungy look. Next, I stamped the sentiment from this stamp set, just one of the Marys, and then ink blended that, and I'm going to die cut that with the sentiments and stitched nesting dies. They fit perfectly in there. Gonna wrap some string around the top of my panel And then I'll just tack that down with some scotch tape on the back, add some foam tape, and then pop that up right in the center of those torn layers. I also die cut a little banner using that same sentiment die, and I'll trim out the bottom, notch it out with my scissors to create a pattern paper tag to go behind the sentiment, lining those up and using my crocodile to punch a hole. And we're going to attach this to the card with another piece of string. Just going to tie a knot around those three pieces that I wrapped around my panel, pull the tails through the hole in the top of my sentiment tags, and then just tie a sweet little bow. Whatever size you like, I'm just going to fiddle with it until I'm happy. And then I just love how they layer perfectly. I had some scraps, so I'm going to create a little tag to go along with it. This is the Make a Tag dies from Unity Stamp Company. And then this time I'm using the string of lights in the stamp set, Three Times as Merry. And I'm just using three colors of Copics this time, in the green, the red, and then also the W1 neutral or warm gray. They match the tones in the pattern paper I'm using, so that was really easy coloring. I didn't do any shadowing, it's just one color per bowl. Add a little bit of ink blending over the top with that antique linen. And then also I stamped the full sentiment, the three Marys, and then ink blended over the top of that. Die cut it with the scallops and squares dies. And then we're doing the same treatment to this little guy. We're going to tear the tops and the bottoms, and then we'll come in and deepen up that ink blending with some vintage photo. Again, just to kind of make everything cohesive, I'll do the pattern paper and then also the die cut sentiment. I'm going to layer this up at the top of my tag and then use that tag die one more time to trim it down so it matches perfectly. I picked a couple ribbons from my stash in a neutral color, folded them on top of each other, and then I'm going to use my tiny attacher to staple those to the tag, just in a crisscross pattern. To finish it off, I'm just going to pop up the sentiment with some foam tape right in the bottom center of the tag, and then add a cute little enamel heart to finish it off. And here's a look at that tag. It's just so sweet, and I used all my leftovers to match and coordinate with the super shiny lunar paste card. I love the way those stars shine. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll have all the supplies linked in the description of this video and my Dollhouse Designs blog. Be sure to like and subscribe to catch all my video tutorials, as it really helps my little channel grow. And I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you again soon.